Yo, what's going on, homies? It's your boy Stumped back for another OPTC video, and in today's video, we're taking a look at Nami, the new Memories of the Straw Hats 10th Anniversary Sugo Fest Nami in a striker-based build. With the release of Nami comes another Dex legend for this post-10th Anniversary Memories of the Straw Hats celebration, and honestly, Dex have had buff after buff after buff after buff. So as soon as I saw Nami being another Dex character, I just immediately thought, hey, look, this character is going to buff Dex. The 6+ Nami works actually pretty well on Dex teams, and I thought, hey, this is probably just going to be a straight replacement. But lo and behold, she actually buffs strikers, and strikers coming back. Are they on the move to make a resurgence? Because strikers were always a really fun team. They sort of only worked because Roger Whitebeard is so damn good. And they were kind of that team that was just so wonky that it just sort of worked because they had so many powerful characters. Characters like Jack, Tesoro 6+. You've got Roger and Whitebeard, Luffy Yamato. The amount of PvP rare recruits that this particular team has is actually insane. You've got Sasaki, Kanjuro, Hina, and they just keep getting more and more and more. But with the release of Nami, you can do some pretty funky stuff like what you guys would have just seen right there, and utilize a very, very powerful character like Roger and Whitebeard to basically do a shit ton of damage to 2 units, allow Nami to get a haste ability to bring back Roger and Whitebeard, as well as giving them 100% cooldown. The abilities that Nami has is actually pretty nuts. Like I said, getting 100% cooldown for 2 striker units, and then also having a 50% chance to give them haste, allows you to do some pretty cool things. And not only can you do some pretty nuts stuff with stuff like Roger Whitebeard with all the damage output, as you guys would have just seen there, you can utilize characters like Hina that have the ability to action mines, and if she misses particular units, you can then give her haste, give her special back. She comes back with a massive action by chance, action binds the rest of the team, and you can sort of just stop the enemy from doing everything. Obviously, that is hindered behind being able to do something like action binding. However, having characters like Roger and Whitebeard, having a unit like Luffy Yamato that can do so much damage at the back end, if they sort of go and then you get them to go again, it's just absolutely nuts. The fact that we are still 35 seconds left in this fight, and Roger and Whitebeard have used their special 3 times, is absolutely insane. Nami's passive is actually really, really good too. I did try some stuff with Nami on the bench, bringing her in, because there's a part of her passive that gives herself like level 5 or 6 cooldown in the last sort of 30 seconds of the fight. And then if you partner this up with Luffy Yamato, who's giving everyone 2 turns of cooldown at the last 50 seconds, Nami has a really, really good ability to sort of just get her special off and bring those haste forwards. But we took on the Dex fight first. It was actually a pretty good percentage, even with Dex being super boosted at the moment with the rule set because of the release of Nami. Strikers are also getting a buff too, so we do need to take that into consideration when we are looking at this particular comp. But the strikers worked really, really well. Another team comp that was actually getting super boosted this month is the Sai team, and this particular Gin fight has a lot of strikers on it too, being Enel, Gin himself, and Yamato. Plus, obviously, Sai is getting buffed across the board. So I thought I would take this one on as well. This is not a sort of surefire victory, but it was a pretty good showing that strikers can sort of rustle up the meta and can actually participate against some of the better teams in the game. Obviously, these challenge fights, by the way, like they're not the meta teams. However, it's a really good place to showcase this kind of stuff because whilst Nami's a very, very good character, strikers kind of fall out of that sort of top 5 discussion. That would be up there in the top 10, obviously, but we don't have that many PvP teams. But with this addition, strikers get a little bit more RNG to their name, and I feel like Nami's going to work great on a defensive team. Having characters like Roger Whitebeard and Luffy Yamato that can sort of do a lot of damage to some flimsier teams, stuff like Slashes, for example, that don't have a super amount of defense, that are trying to just pop off their specials very, very early. You can bulk out this particular team and tank some of those shots, then have characters like Roger Whitebeard go yourself, and then have Nami bring the cooldowns back. You can do some really, really interesting things. I found with this particular build that I was using, it worked the best for me. Obviously, you can do some stuff with like Luffy Yamato on the bench, bring Kanjuro into the front, get some more fun stuff there. But Luffy Yamato's passive was just really, really nice, just buffing the entire team, rather than sort of waiting out for them to sort of come back. Plus, they do a lot of damage to some teams that have a lot of lower defenses, and then having them around to get a haste ability, as well as 100% cooldowns with something like Nami, towards that 50-second mark was working really, really nicely. 9 times out of 10, I did find that Roger Whitebeard and Hina would go, and then you would have Nami going after them. It wouldn't be all the time. Sometimes you'd have Tesoro squeak in there. You'd have something like Luffy Yamato squeak in there. Sometimes Luffy Yamato would pop around the 30-second mark, depending on what the opposition was running. But if you have this ability right here, where you see that Roger Whitebeard gets the 100% cooldown, then gets the haste, and you just do something like this after they've already gone, you're basically looking at taking out 4 units of the squad, which is an absolute monstrous amount. Like, it's... Roger Whitebeard aren't a surefire kill anymore, but they still do so much damage, not only with their attack that goes through defense, but that ability to get a 30% HP cut as well is so goddamn strong. And utilizing this twice, just like I said, it means that you're basically going to take out at least 2 units now, guaranteed. Because you get the HP cut, and you get the hit, and you get another HP cut, and then you get another big hit. Every unit taking 2 30% HP cuts is just really, really good for your squad. Plus, strikers have a lot of very good utility in terms of abilities. You have Paralysis with Kanjuro, you have Special Bind with Smoker, you have Action Bind with Hina, and you can do some really, really fun stuff there. I think that was like the 4th time we saw the Roger Whitebeard special this fight, which is just absolutely wild. However, strikers kind of aren't there yet. They have a lot of good PvP rare recruits. They have a lot of very good legends that can kind of synergize together, even though they're not buffing strikers per se, besides obviously Nami. But characters like Tesoro, characters like Jack that are doing sort of like rainbow buffs. You even have the Exchange Ace, as long as you are running Roger and Whitebeard, to buff the team as well. You can do some stuff with Strength and have Sasaki in the front. Or you can do stuff with like Kuzen and run a more Sai and quick-based build. But as I was saying, strikers, they're kind of just not there, and they do suffer from a lot of different things. They're not exactly the most bulky team because they are still a little bit wonky, so characters that can bypass defensive abilities like S-Hawk, Roger Whitebeard himself, will do quite a big number on your team. Plus, I do find that they're pretty much prone to everything. Besides Hina and Luffy Yamato, you are very prone to half stats, and if Roger Whitebeard gets half stats, kind of lose out a lot of damage, especially if Luffy Yamato dies and you don't have Luffy Yamato for that back end 50 seconds. Another thing they do struggle with is Action Bind, and I actually had to run this shooter fight like 3 times because with really bad RNG, Raizo and Shinobu has the ability to just Action Bind you. 2 of the fights that I did, the first 2 before this, Raizo Shinobu Action binded everyone every time they hit, and they were on a perfect sort of cycle of just continuously action binding me. There was one character that didn't get action binded once, and that was Luffy Yamato, and Luffy Yamato just got absolutely pimped out and just got smacked. It was absolutely wild to watch and just see all my characters that action binded. As soon as they came back from action binded, they just got action binded again. Literally, the fight, we didn't lose the fight because they didn't kill us, but we just literally couldn't do anything, which was absolutely wild. So strikers sort of need that extra gel to make them sort of work as a PvP team. In Grand Party, when you have extra stats and they're boosted and colors are boosted, I feel like strikers are going to do wonderful things. But the fact that something like Roger Whitebeard is some sort of more made towards slashes, and then Luffy Yamato being big damage dealers are more made towards free spirit, we're just sort of waiting for that striker character to come out and then just be that replacement for these 2 units. And then I feel like strikers are going to go to the goddamn moon. If we had something like a PvP legend that's like S-Hawk level, but for strikers, I feel like we could do some really, really cool things. Hell, if you even found a way to run, say, S-Hawk and make it work with Nami, and then have Nami's haste and the cooldowns give S-Hawk their special again, and just utilizing a double bink of S-Hawk's 3-unit tap that go through defensive effects, that'd just be absolutely nuts. Or we just get a striker that can literally do that, and you would just, like, this team would go to the moon. It's got defensive abilities, it's got cooldown abilities, and it works really, really nicely, even with the wonkiness. But as I was saying, if you do go up against characters that just go a lot faster than you can bypass defense, the team can't really hold itself together like some of the bigger teams can. It doesn't have that sort of bulking prowess that Dex has. It doesn't really have that bulking power that Strength has. It doesn't have that damage output that Strength and Slashes have. It doesn't have that cheekiness that the Dex and the Quick Driven team has. So it's a nice team. I mean, it does have that cheekiness, I suppose, with Nami and getting that haste ability, but you are relying a lot on RNG, and finding a way to make that work to your advantage every single time is going to be a little bit challenging. Remember, strikers are getting buffed this season. I believe they get like level 4 attack, maybe, which isn't like the be-all or end-all. Like, it's not like the biggest buff. It was like level 4 defense. It's a little bit stronger. But you might be watching this going, yeah, but Stump, like, this team works really, really nicely. Obviously, we are going up against the weaker slasher team. I did try the S-Hawk slasher team, and I was just getting absolutely smacked. I tried a couple of different formations, but just having, like, the slashers do what they do is just absolutely nuts. And seeing what Strength can do with, like, their big prowess, it's just kind of nuts. However, I did take on the Super Challenge over in PKA with this particular team against the Luffy build, which has the strength Luffy on it. It's not exactly the hardest fight, however, it is still up there as one of the more challenging fights. So I'm going to showcase that at the end of the video. We actually tank a Luffy shot and still manage to get the win, which is really, really cool. But like I said, like I've been saying, the real fun thing about this particular team is getting Nami to give 100% cooldowns to either Roger and Whitebeard or Luffy Yamato and allowing them to just do a lot of damage. Not only in the back end of the fights, but in the start of the fights. Just having, again, Luffy Yamato, whilst they do more damage at the end, having their special go off twice is actually ridiculous. It's still really, really strong. Unless you're going up against teams that have like Bazonga defense, anything over 30, then you're really probably not going to see those big numbers, or you're going to see like baby dick numbers. But if you're going up against sort of like slasher teams and some more well synergized teams that don't exactly rely on like 4 billion defense anymore, like back in the day with the powerhousey teams, you are still going to be able to utilize Nami and Luffy Yamato to your advantage and getting some really, really good damage out. Even when like the fight looks over, like great, like this is just looking bad for us, right? We're in a really, really bad spot here. We've been hit by Roger and Whitebeard twice, but then you can get something like this to go off, gives the full cooldowns to Luffy and Yamato. Luffy Yamato says, hello, last 30 seconds, let's kill your entire team. Love that for us. Becomes a 4-on-3 fight now, even with the low HP that we have. We just gave ourselves haste, we just gave ourselves cooldowns, and now we can basically just bring ourselves forward. Another thing about Nami is she doesn't have to give haste to the characters she gives the cooldowns to. Sometimes she can give haste to other characters that have their cooldowns, and then give the cooldown to one character that doesn't, and then just have that ready to go in the lineup, do something like this, and actually manage to get a dub. Really fun stuff. So finally, as I mentioned, I did go up against the Luffy fight. I don't think this has hit its pinnacle. I believe once you hit like PK 150, I think it maxes out. However, it was still really, really cool to see that even going up against a strength Luffy with the Kobe haste, we could actually tank out the shot and go from there. Let me know in the comment section below, actually, if that's the case, if the combat power wasn't as high. You guys can go back and pause it. I just can't go back right now. My internet's down at the office, so recording this on my phone has been a little bit challenging, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video anyway. Until that internet issue is fixed, I feel like a little bit of my content might look like this for a little while. But hopefully it doesn't take too long. We will be back up and running. But let me know what you guys think of strikers. Let me know what you guys think of Nami. Are you a big fan of strikers? I know people loved running strikers back in the day. People still love running strikers. They still are pretty cool, but I feel like they have not had too many buffs or any buffs at all in a very long time. So what they can do though is they can tank this, which is pretty cool. Sort of. Sort of. I mean, look, if that hit Roger Whitebeard, I feel like this fight probably would have gone a little bit differently. Because I think Roger Whitebeard hits their Luffy, which is coming up right here. We're taking a lot of shots, and look, don't get me wrong, this is not a way of me saying, oh my god, strikers are better than strength, because they're definitely not. I have fought this a couple times with this team as well, and we managed to get the win, but when you do stuff like that, and like you're just outputting so much damage against a bit of a weaker team, it's still really nice to see, knowing that this team could do absolute dividends and absolutely destroy us nonetheless. But it's going to wrap up the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, make sure to go down there, belt the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all that good stuff for me. Most importantly, if you guys are in this beautiful world, please remember to enjoy the rest of your day. As always, homies, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.